Recording in progress.
I'm going to read some passages from the section called Seek Not Outside Yourself from the chapter The Awakening. This is definitely one of my favorite sections. The two sections I've read more than any others in the whole course. The Real Alternative and Seek Not Outside Yourself, and Self-Concept versus Self. But those are just repeated in my mind almost every day. Start with Seek Not Outside Yourself. Seek not outside yourself, for it will fail, and you will weep each time an idol falls. Heaven cannot be found where it is not, and there can be no peace excepting there. Each idol that you worship when God calls will never answer in his place. What is an idol? Jesus says an idol is an image of your brother that you would value more than what he is. Idols are made that he may be replaced, no matter what their form. Idols are substitutions for your reality, made to complete your little self or bring to you what you feel you lack. So who's my brother? He says an idol is an image of our brother that we would value more than what he is. Well, our brothers are not bodies. Our brother is not a body. That's definite. Our brother is not an ego. When he says brother, in the workbook, he says, who's my brother? Who's my brother but your holy son? God's holy son is your brother, not a body in a world. The Holy Son is our true identity and not the self we made. So that is the part of our mind that that remembers God, that we call the Holy Spirit or Jesus. My brother is Jesus Christ, who I don't believe I am one with. It's really essential when you're practicing the course to not perceive when he speaks about brothers, to drag that message into the world and believe you're surrounded by brothers here. Because nothing happens at the level of the world. We're just watching shadows and holding them responsible for us, for making us, for how we feel. So going back to it, each idol that you worship when God calls will never answer in his place. There is no other answer you can substitute and find the happiness his answer brings. Seek not outside yourself, for all your pain comes simply from a futile search for what you want, insisting where it must be found in the world. What if it's not there? Do you prefer that you be right or happy? Paragraph 3 of this section discusses the lingering illusion. What this is all about. The lingering illusion will impel him to seek out 1,000 idols and to seek beyond them for 1,000 more. And each will fail him, all excepting one, for he will die and does not understand the idol that he seeks is but his death. Its form appears to be outside himself, yet does he seek to kill God's Son within and prove that he is victor over him. This is the purpose every idol has, for this the role that is assigned to it, and this the role that cannot be fulfilled. So we're talking about idols again, substitution for your reality, an image of your brother, the Holy Son of God, that you would value more than what he is. So the lingering illusion, is there something outside of me that's going to bring peace and happiness to me? So I seek out 1,000 idols, 1,000 substitutions for the truth in me, which is the Holy Son of God, our true reality. And all will fail me, all excepting one, for we will die. But we don't perceive that the idol that we seek is but our own death in order to kill God's Son within us. So this kind of ties into a section in the Guiltless World where Jesus says, let us recognize you believe you have crucified God's Son. You have not admitted to this terrible secret because you would still wish to crucify him if you could find him. So that is the underlying belief that forms the basis of our experience in the world. We believe we have killed him and we would kill him again. It's a dream of death. This is a dream of death where all things die. So that lingering illusion that there's something outside of me is what I want to hang on to, rather than look inside of me and go into my right mind and perceive that the basis of this world is death. It is the death of God's Son, that we have separated off from ourselves to believe we are something different, to believe that we are vulnerable and must die. But what warrants death? What warrants death is this underlying belief that we crucified God's Son, which we believe we did because we don't experience ourselves at one with him. We experience him as separate. In the war against yourself, he says, here, your murder is your choice. Here in this world, murder is your choice. Who, with the love of God upholding him, could find the choice of miracles or murder hard to make? Because we don't perceive the choice being between miracles and murder. We believe that we have no option other than to seek out 1,000 idols, because we accept as true that we have no choice but to seek for happiness and peace outside of us. We don't feel powerful here. We do not experience God acting in the world. What we call miracles here is another form of an idol. It's when he says idols are made that he can be replaced no matter what their form. So if we take a form and we say, oh, it's a miracle that form just occurred in this world, we're just holding on to idols still. But we won't believe that's the truth. We'll believe that we have successfully pulled God into the dream, which makes him unreliable and fickle. And seemingly, we appear judged by him based on who gets the nice forms and who doesn't get the nice forms. And then when ultimately those forms do fail us, and we're hurt, we see the picture of our secret wishes. If you can be hurt by anything, you see a picture of your secret wishes, nothing more than this. And in your suffering of any kind, you see your own concealed desire to kill. How did we get here? Murder, the belief in murder, the belief I can separate myself from everything, which I had to kill it off to do. Oneness cannot continue once I choose separation. And deep down, there is that guilt that I did it. I did it. I'm guilty, and I'm fearful of the punishment that is inevitable. And the insanity of believing that continues in the projected world where we now identify with an individual idol, only to die in that world. So that concept of punishment follows us into this world. The foundation of this world is built on the ideas of sin, guilt, and fear. And we didn't escape it. We didn't escape it at all. The terror in our minds that we were going to be punished for what we've done follows us here and plays out in forms we don't even recognize. Because everything here symbolizes death. Everything here symbolizes murder. Whenever you attempt to reach a goal in which the body's betterment is cast as major beneficiary, you try to bring about your death. So you can see death is the theme here. And that's really not what people want to get from the Course. They want to believe, oh, I'm love and light, and I'm going to bring that to the world, and I'm going to help all these other people, these other bodies, idols that I made to replace the truth, and keep it forever outside of, make sure the truth is outside of me and not within me, because the ego's primary goal is to make sure I remain mindless and remain caught up in the forms and circumstances and events that seem to happen, that my body seems to be a part of the events. The body wanders idly in and out of situations and circumstances the mind contrives. That's all we ever do. And we get caught up in it. We become obsessed with it. But that obsession has a purpose. It's not just I'm obsessed with it because of what it is. The purpose is to maintain my world, to maintain the idea of what I am, so that I never call it into question. Remember, the ego wants to keep us mindless, and this world is the way we are kept mindless. But we're not kept mindless against our will. We are actively participating in choosing the ego thought system because we want to be a dream. We want to be the shadow on the wall. I don't say that we don't beat us up, we don't beat ourselves up about it, but we have to at least acknowledge what dynamics are at work in the ego thought system, the dynamic that is at work in keeping us mindless in our participation in it, or how will we move on? Recognizing it is necessary. It's not just important, it is necessary and essential to move beyond it. If we don't see what's happening, the way that we have set things up, we won't be able to see another way. We won't be able to take Jesus's hand in honesty about what we made and what we believe and why we believe it, what we perceive the world's purpose for. Idols must fall because they have no life. And what is lifeless is a sign of death. Well, we're all going to die here in this world. And he says, you came to die, and what would you expect but to perceive the signs of death you seek? No sadness and no suffering proclaim a message other than an idol found that represents a parody of life, which in its lifelessness is really death, conceived as real and given living form. Yet each must fail and crumble and decay, because a form of death cannot be life, and what is sacrificed cannot be whole. I think about some of those lines every time I'm driving. I do a lot of driving for my job, and if I see a dead animal on the side of the road, I think, well, I came to die, and what would I expect but to perceive the signs of death I seek? Because idols must fall. And why do they fall? Why do they seem to die? Because they have no life. They are the shadows on the wall. And we watch them unaware of what reality is until we choose again. All idols of this world were made to keep the truth within from being known to you and to maintain allegiance to the dream that you must find what is outside yourself to be complete and happy. It is vain to worship idols in the hope of peace. God dwells within, and your completion lies in him. No idol takes his place. Look not to idols. Do not seek outside yourself. Just every line of this section is just amazing. So then he teaches us to forget the purpose of the world the past has given it. The purpose that we gave the world. Otherwise, the future will be like the past and but a series of depressing dreams in which all idols fail you one by one, and you see death and disappointment everywhere. To change all this and open up a road of hope and of release in what appeared to be an endless circle of despair, you need but to decide you do not know the purpose of the world. That is the invitation to the Holy Spirit's purpose. The only purpose is forgiveness, to overlook what never happened, to forgive what was never done to you, so that you create a welcome space for the truth to enter. Your idols do what you would have them do and have the power you ascribe to them, and you pursue them vainly in the dream because you want their power as your own. This goes back to symbols versus experience. All idols are symbols. They don't have inherent meaning. We must give them the meaning they have for us. So if I ascribe to an idol in this world, that idol is the key to my happiness. That symbol outside of me is the key to my happiness. And if I lose that symbol to death or destruction of any kind, then I can't be happy anymore. And that is capable of keeping the peace of God away from me. That's the power we give our idols. He says we want their power as our own. We want to possess them because we need to make our little self complete. Yet where are dreams but in a mind asleep? And can a dream succeed in making real the picture it projects outside of itself? Save time, my brother. Learn what time is for, and speed the end of idols in a world made sad and sick by seeing idols there. Yeah, the world is sad and sick. And we cling to our idols, and we chase our idols. And we're impelled to seek out 1,000 of them and 1,000 more. To maintain the dream of what we are, we need our idols. It's not just seeing something outside of us as a substitute for God's Holy Son. It's so that we can see ourselves as substitutes. We have made of ourselves an idol, made to replace the Holy Son of God. And yet he abides within us as the alternative to the ego's dark and murderous gifts that we have embraced fully. And we walk through this world with our friends, sin, guilt, and fear, and we're afraid to lose them. And that is the insanity. That is the power of the illusion, the hallucination, our deepest desire, because we will always follow perception's law. We see idols because we believe them, and we believe them because we want them to be the truth. That is why he says, if you could find God's Son, you'd crucify him again. Nobody believes that about themselves. Do you really believe if you find God's Son, you'd crucify him again? We don't want to see that, but we are crucifying him every time we cling to an idol, every time we cling to a form, every time we cling to a symbol and believe it offers us something and give it all this meaning and then believe it has independent meaning separate from what we gave it. Your holy mind is altar unto God, and where he is, no idols can abide. The fear of God is but the fear of loss of idols. It is not the fear of loss of your reality, but you have made of your reality an idol, which you must protect against the light of truth. And all the world becomes the means by which this idol can be saved. So we made of our reality an idol, we have to protect it against truth, and the world is the means that we use to protect it against the truth and save it. Salvation thus appears to threaten life and offer death. So we believe we have to preserve the idol that we've made of ourselves, and that salvation would threaten us, and yet here we're doomed to die. It truly makes no sense. So he does make the point in the chorus. Jesus says, if you called into question these fundamental foundational beliefs, it's you who wouldn't believe them. But the ego wants to keep those questions out of our mind. And it's very successful at doing that. We call that resistance. But that resistance, the projection, all of it does not come against our will. We are not being terrorized by the ego thought system. We're actively choosing it. And we have to recognize that power, or we're hopeless. It's like the opposite of the repeated statement he makes. I am not a body. I am free. I am as God created me. So this idol that we made to be our reality, protecting against the light of truth, we are proclaiming silently, unceasingly, I am a body. I am prisoner. I am not as God created me. That is our dedication. So that workbook is trying to flip over that belief. Who doesn't walk this earth believing they're a body, a prisoner, and not as God created them? Unless you would believe God would create a world full of death, disease, suffering, destruction. But in our suffering of any kind, we see our own concealed desire to kill. And how often does Jesus use the terms murder, death, and kill in this book? The war against yourself says it all. Here, murder is your choice. He's not equivocal about that. It's completely unequivocal. Here, murder is your choice. That's not to say that the reality in us is evil and bad. That is to say, we're making a conscious choice to see murder as our choice by killing off the Son of God and not identifying with that reality in us, but choosing the ego. Salvation thus appears to threaten life and offer death. It is not so. Salvation seeks to prove there is no death. This world offers death. Salvation seeks to prove there is no death and only life exists. The sacrifice of death is nothing lost. An idol cannot take the place of God. So there's no such thing as sacrificing death, because only in dreams and fantasy and shadows is death real. Let him remind you of his love for you, and do not seek to drown his voice in chants of deep despair to idols of yourself. Seek not outside your Father for your hope, for hope of happiness is not despair. And that hope of happiness is found in our function, That hope of happiness is found in our right mind, the reflection, the memory of God, heaven, love, and truth. So we turn to Jesus, we take his hand again, we try again today, and we say, Jesus, I was terrified. I made the choice for murder. I made the choice to perceive death as real. I made the choice of idols over reality. But today I'm taking your hand. I'm going to try again to walk through, for hope of happiness is not despair. Amen. Thank you for listening.